Welcome into the Daily Dish. Jeremy Werner, Joey Wagner. We're going to do something a little bit differently, and I think you're going to like it. We're going to do a little series here, player previews for Illinois basketball, preview the players we know will be on the roster, or at least we think will be on the roster. Things can change, Joey, but we do think 5 returners will be here. And of course, 5 recruits, including transfer Terrence Shannon and the 4 prep prospects. But let's start this series with the one returning starter. And he was a part-time starter, right, this season. And that's Coleman Hawkins. Took huge strides late last season after a mid-season lull, Joey. But we expect him to kind of build on that and take on a much bigger, maybe a starring role. Joey, what are your expectations for Coleman Hawkins in year 3 with the Illini?
I think last year, Jeremy, we kind of projected that maybe he was going to take that, maybe we projected too high this step, just given the team around him. But now, given the team around him, I think it's fair to project that guy who's going to be a high usage guy who can switch between positions. I've long been on the Coleman Hawkins First at the 5 fan club. I think you're going to see some of that this year. I think you're going to see a carryover of the end of last season. Obviously, the middle of the season was really up and down. It was just inconsistent playing time, inconsistent play, but you saw him start to put it together late. And that's offensively, and more importantly, I think, Jeremy, defensively. The stuff he did defensively, even early in the year against Ron Harper, and then late in the year, the game that comes to mind is obviously the Iowa game where they clinched a share of the Big Ten, and what he did on Keegan Murray. I think that's the side that probably has Brad Underwood the most excited about him, because I think offensively, you hope you're going to have all the pieces in place where you'll be okay. But what he can do defensively and answer the longstanding who guards the 4 question, I think he could step into that role.
Yeah, I've long thought, Joey, he could be a DJ Wilson-like talent who kind of has that DJ Wilson career arc. And Coleman actually had a better sophomore season than Wilson had at Michigan. Wilson averaged 3 points, 1 rebound in his second season with the Wolverines, but he skyrocketed as a junior. He averaged 11 points, 5 rebounds, and they got drafted 17th overall. We saw Coleman Hawkins number 40 overall and Jonathan Gavoni's 2023 way too early draft. But I think that says how intrigued that people are in Coleman Hawkins and his skill set. And I think he's got that kind of DJ Wilson type potential. Like Wilson, he can shoot the 3, but has to become more efficient with more bulk of shooting. He can rebound, he can block shots, he can be versatile defensively, as you were talking about. I think that's where so much of his value comes from. And he can take people off the bounce a little bit and finish at the rim in transition, right? That's a skill set that NBA teams want, and Illinois needs to see on display just more often, right? And I think as an upperclassman now, consistency. That's what you look for as an upperclassman. And for my money, Hawkins last year, towards the end of the year, the last couple of weeks, was the second best player on the court for Illinois. And he doesn't need to be the second leading scorer this year. I don't think that needs to be his focus all the time, but I think he can be as impactful as anyone on this roster because of his ability to do so many things well on both sides of the court, Joey. So I don't know. I wouldn't project him to be the leading scorer next year. I don't think he has to be, but I think he can be as impactful, and I think he could be potentially their best player overall.
I think he's got some ability to facilitate as well. Something that I know Illinois liked about him was his ability to pass. But the thing that doesn't show up anywhere that I'm really impressed with Coleman Hawkins is his ability to fit into what's around him. You can go back to his time at Prolific Prep where he was on the floor with Namari Burnett, with Jalen Green, and he didn't try to be someone he isn't, try to be too much. He just really understood what he had to do. Freshman year at Illinois is kind of a wash, really didn't, with that team, didn't get a lot of playing time. But you saw it last year, his ability to kind of adapt in to what he needed to be. And late in the season, that was an energy bringer off the bench, but that really turned into being a really, really good player. And I think he kind of found all of that together. So just his ability to understand what he has to be, which I think is probably one of his better gifts. I think that's going to translate into this season. But what he has to be is going to be more than what he's had to be, I think, the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think you see that he's an emotional player, and sometimes that can be really good. I think he can set a tone with his energy, and that's been a focus for him for a long time. Having that under control now is more of a leader of the team is going to be important for him. But I think the number one goal Brad Underwood's going to set for him is be Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's got that kind of potential. Then the offense will come with all the weapons they have around him, with all the running they're going to do. He should get a lot of easy dunks, put back dunks, and then make a 3 or 2 per game. And I think the NBA will come calling, and all these accolades and all the shine that I think he's wanting now that he's kind of served his time as the role player, as the energy guy, kind of wants to be the star. I think if he does those simple things, I think that's all going to come for Coleman Hawkins. So certainly a really exciting player to watch this season. And it'll be interesting to see his career arc, because we know he has such a high ceiling, but important for Illinois to get him back. And we'll cover it all at IlliniInquirer.com.